Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about Cole's Funny Picture Book. It was a particular book that I grew up with through my mother and aunties who lived in Tamworth, Australia. This picture is the actual copy of the book that we owned. Later I will show you through the pages. I wanted to share about the history of the book. There are some very interesting things about the book arcade at such a time that Cole's Funny Picture Book was being published and read by millions. It boasts of being the best book in the world and that the bookstore was the most renowned. In the front it has this little song. Long ago the rainbow was a sign, it is said. Now 'tis the sign of Cole's Book Arcade, so when in the sky a bow is displayed, be sure that you think of the Book Arcade. So Mr. W. Cole opened his Book Arcade in 1873 at 158 Bourke Street near Russell Street, Melbourne. He had come to Australia from London as a teenage marketeer, attracted to the goldfields, although he ditched the prospecting and successfully extended his passion of books, beginning with a second-hand bookstall in 1865 at Eastern Market on the corner of Bourke and Stephen Street, now Exhibition Street. Within 10 years, Edward Cole had moved to the official site which became the Bourke Street Mall. The property was previously a 3-story Spanish restaurant with sound brick walls on bluestone foundations, inspired by the glass roof of the nearby Royal Arcade that appeared similar to the London World Fair exhibition roof that was being shown only 2 years prior. Now, this is the inside of the Book Arcade, and this is the inside of the London World Fair exhibition. So you can see the glass roof. Cole built an extraordinary shop arcade with open balconies and the glass roof to allow daylight to reach all levels. It became filled with books galore, a lending library, toys, sweets, ornaments, stationery, pictures, perfumery, music, animals, birds, a museum, fernery, printing shop, tea salon, and live playing 5-piece band. The Book Arcade grew to reach Collins Street, as shown in this town map of 1910. Customers of the Book Arcade could browse in comfort and read without any pressure to buy. People devoured entertainment and knowledge, and many crowds were drawn even to the extent that police were needed to control them coming to visit. It was at a time when Melbourne was booming with the gold rush, and the Public Libraries Act was passed by British Parliament in 1850, giving many British people the chance to read books and learn about the rest of the world. Edward Cole published his own books, each with the trademark rainbow. Through his stories, poems, and anecdotes, he encouraged people to think more about others around them. He challenged many of the prejudices of the day and even confronted the religious complacency of 19th century Melbourne with the White Australia policy. The White Australia Question by E. W. Cole. We will not allow any Asiatics or other coloured people to settle in any part of Australia. So say many Australians. He says, yes, the man who taught men to love one another, that the foreigner is our neighbour, and to do as we would be done by, the man who has influence for good, more of the our white selves included, than any other man that ever lived, the man whose doctrines are taught every week in the 800,000 churches and chapels of Christendom, that man, under our proposed alien law, would not be allowed to live in this country through being an Asiatic and a coloured man. Now, whatever may happen, or however we may reason, one thing is certain, that no man can support such a law and remain a Christian. Now, as we can see, Edward Cole was putting out his perspective. So I guess they didn't have social media back in those days, so he was able to do it through his books that he published. And yeah, what else was he putting out for children to read, for people to learn, and what knowledge he wanted them to know? So for 40 years, the Cole's Book Arcade became part of Melbourne's soul and was a blueprint of Edward Cole himself, as he pictured the future as a harmonious utopia. The rainbow cover of the picture book actually looks similar to the Flammarion engraving. I don't know. It's just, yeah, something I find kind of similar. Okay, so I'll keep going. Oh yeah, that's Rainbow Song of the Book Arcade, Cole's Book Arcade is in Melbourne town. Of all the books in this land, it has the most renown. It was the first book arcade that in the world was found. 'Tis still the finest book arcade in all the world around. Yeah. 1,000,000 books are stored within its walls, which can be seen, looked at, or bought by anyone that calls. We have these little poems, rainbows, and coins. So these medals could be purchased when entering the arcade for threepence and used in exchange for books, or kept as a souvenir, or worn as a necklace pendant. Cole described them as little missionaries of educative knowledge. They helped with the crowd control, and they were also used to advertise the arcade. Edward Cole would get his staff to scatter them around the city on their way home from work. They spread Cole's enthusiasms of World Federation education in simple language concepts, the truth about religion and morality, and the equality of men and law. It is believed that around 300,000 medals were minted between 1879 and 1918 in various finishes of copper, gold, silver, bronze, brass, and aluminium. So, printed on the coins little sayings, reading and thinking bring wisdom. The happiness of mankind, the real salvation of the world, must come about by every person in existence being taught to read and induced to think. Okay. Now, I noticed there were a lot of palm trees on these coins. There were quite a few of them. Pure thoughts, pure words, pure deeds. So yeah, he really put himself out there through his books and sold a library of many other books. I'd love to know what was in the library. So Edward passed away at the age of 86 on December 16, 1918. Despite carefully selecting 4 trustees who he believed shared his vision, they lacked Edward's enthusiasm, business, and drive, and were unable to work together cohesively. It would seem that Cole really was the lifeblood of the arcade. When he was no longer able to see it, the arcade quickly fell apart and became financially untenable, closing only 10 years after Edward's death. All that remains today of Cole's Book Arcade is the glass roof running above Howie Place, as you can see here. And I'm not sure when these photos were taken, so whether it is still there or not, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't visited the place. So, yeah, this is the copy of Cole's Funny Picture Book, which brought me to know the history about the arcade. It even says on the book, every sightseer in the city of Melbourne should visit Cole's Book Arcade. It is entirely an Australian institution, being the first of its kind, open anywhere and at the present time unequalled in any city of the world. It has 3 stories high, 600 feet deep, and an average width of 45 feet, with frontages to Burke and Collins Street. The 2 main, what does it say? Something of Melbourne. Its public walks are half a mile long. Its galleries are supported on brass pillars, while hundreds of rainbows, the trademark, decorate the interior and exterior of the establishment. There are 100 mirrors tastefully placed throughout the building. The present arcade was opened on Cup Day 1883 and has been visited every day except Sundays, year in, year out, an average of 2,000 people. I'm not sure, it's faded. We can probably get another copy and be able to read what the print is, but my copy is very worn and it was very much loved by my family. We enjoyed poring over the pages of pictures and funny things, so I'll show you what was there. So it starts with the badges of the Australian states. Australia is a grand country, the best country on earth, unknown Australia. Talks about Australia's mineral resources. And then funny kids' faces. I want Cole's Funny Picture Book. Johnny Smith's got one. I'm Johnny Smith. I've got Cole's Funny Picture Book. I'm so glad. The funniest picture book in the world for children. Children tired and going to bed, and then getting up, happy as larks. Funny how children love looking at other children. So that gets them into the book. So then it goes on to children's rhymes. This pig went to market, this pig stayed at home, this pig had meat, this pig had none, and this pig cried wee wee all the way home. Sure, we all know that. Don't know where it came from, but I do have a dictionary on nursery rhymes, so I must look it up. Then we've got Girl Land, Naughty Girls, Good Girls, and then Boy Stories. Yeah, Jack the Giant Killer. That's I read that. It's a version of Jack and the Beanstalk. And other what do you call them? Not nursery rhymes, like fairy tales. modes of travelling in the world and a prize of £1,000 offered for a flying machine. Now, I thought this was interesting because we've got modes of travel and then putting out some prize for some flying machines. So, like, people wanted to fly, people tried to invent ways to fly, but the thing is, they were flying. They reckon the Wright brothers invented flight and the flying machine. But what were they doing? Yeah. They didn't, here. Mescal's aerial flight in a flying machine. So he did put planes in the book, flying machines, the aeroplanes flying around the globe world, and then all of these aeroplanes. But what about there was no picture of what do you call it? The airship, the Zeppelin. I wonder why he didn't include that as an flying machine or airship. I just thought that was a bit odd, because that was the mode of travel back then, and it was wonderful from what I've seen in videos and history of the airships. They just used the disaster to do away with them for some reason, saying they're not safe. But I mean, look at safety, and I mean, look at electric cars these days. When they had electric cars back in Tesla's time, and then they did away with them, and they've brought them back, and they're all catching on fire. So what's the deal there? Were they not safe back then? The reason why they did away with them, and they're not safe now? Or were they safer back then than today? Like, they seem to do things a lot better back then than they're doing today. But, this is all just going around my mind, thinking a lot about these things. So, okay, we've got more girls' names, meanings, and boys' name meanings. Cole's game of hats and bonnets. And back in the day, everyone wore hats. Especially the men they seemed to wear the same hat. Everyone, all of them were wearing the same tall black hat. Where did that come from, and why? Interesting. So he's turned this one into a game. Lots of hats. Riddles and captures. Riddles about babies and ladies. Picture puzzle land. Funny Australian natives. Cat stories. Pussyland. More. Okay, naughty boys. Wicked Willie. Happy boys. Boyland. Dollyland. Dolly's courting. incorporates the white and black society. Then there's all these names for dollies and babies, which yeah, interesting. When yeah, kind of if you relate that with the Cabbage Patch Babies too, and the orphan kids, and yeah, a lot of babies were being named and adopted, and then there were kids, girls wanting dolls, and so it was, yeah, big thing then, as it is today. All old dollies should be hunted up and named. Nameland. It's important to be named. What was that? Mother and father disputing or debating on what to call the baby. Temperland. Big thing about being naughty and being good. I guess that's what you kind of think of with kids, whether they're good kids or naughty kids. And then with Christmas, about Santa saying who's been naughty, who's been nice, who deserves to get toys. Got Pride Land, Naughtiness Land, Greediness Land, the old selfish brother who became a screw, lying and laziness, cruelty, stealing, naughty boys stealing, thou shalt not steal, highway robbery, prisoners ban. Who were being imprisoned though? Were they naughty? What did they do to be imprisoned? Santa Claus Land, Playland, Reading Land, Writing Land, Drawing Land. Now, yeah, this is a page for mother and father to read. It's quite interesting. Just cast your beautiful, your sparkling, your penetrating, your discriminating eyes over this page and read, mark, learn, and inwardly digest its contents. A room hung with pictures is a room hung with thoughts. All about educating even parents, the people, the country, the world. Old Men Tales song. A song of the Book Arcade. Strange history of 26 funny women. That is strange. It's a pyramid, rainbow, the sun. Looks like a witch on top of a pyramid holding scissors, cutting a moon or something, looking like a crescent moon in half. Don't know what that's about, but interesting, not sure. Okay, so I'm just gonna play this music while I flip through the pages of the book, so you can sit back and watch and listen if you like, or yeah, it's up to you. Anyway, that's it from me, so yeah, I'll see you next video. Thank you.